Chats with Trae. Chats with Trae. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Chats with Trae. I am your host, Trae Holiday. And you guys know I love bringing people on here that are going to be inspiring to you as they are to me. And so I'm so elated to have Mr. Robert Redwine, cultural curator of the Central District and far beyond and wide, right here in the studio with me. What's up, Mr. Redwine?
How you doing, Trae? I'm a fan of yours, and you're so kind in your introduction.
Oh, you know what? I mean, you've done so many different things. So I'm excited to get right into your history because not only have you been just an entertainer extraordinaire, but also curating entertainment, doing shows, bringing people right here to Seattle. You've been doing it all. And then you had your own thing going on in LA. I mean, you've just done so many different things. Let's start right at the beginning. I mean, you were raised right here in the Central District.
Correct.
You know, went to Garfield High. I want to talk a little bit about your beginning experience right here in Seattle that maybe propelled you and gave you that platform to really dive into the entertainment career that you've made for yourself.
Well, started, as a kid, I would sing and dance like James Brown and Michael Jackson. They would pay me to do it. 8th grade, I did my own film. Growing up, my mom's brother, Webb Lofton, Jimi Hendrix was in his band called the Rocking Kings. So, you got Jimi Hendrix calling your grandmother's house when you're 5 years old, which is, phenomenal. Then my uncle was the first black city councilman, Sam Smith. I played for the Seattle City Council baseball team. I put signs up. I performed at his political functions. I DJ'd, and I sung and danced.
Wow. You did a lot as a youngster. And it's one of those things where I feel like in black community, they'd be like, get Robert. Robert gonna do it. Get him to do that dance. Get him to play that song. Was that a part of your lived experience?
That was it. And, then my father, the late, great Robert Redwine Sr., I have two fathers, Burnett Cummins, but we'll get into that later. But he was the first he was a Black Panther. And it was a turbulent time in the 60s. And he's a fallen soldier, and some of the circumstances behind the trumped-up charges and later being killed in Walla Walla was, traumatic to me as a 9th grader.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, so many of us, we have these experiences that really shape who we are. And it sounds like there's a lot of opportunities that you had as a young person to make you go, you know what? No, I'm pretty good at this. What was that moment for you in time when you thought, you know what? Wait a minute. Not only can I be entertaining for a family and all that, but I can do this as a career.
Well, it started, Eric Saloy, rest in peace, died last year. At Garfield High School, we'd be singing in the bathroom. At Garfield, I wrote for the school paper. I played on the football team. But singing was a passion of mine, and dancing. So we would sing the Jacksons in the bathroom. So one day we got together with my guy from Detroit, Ralph Perry, his brother Myron, and we performed at Lincoln High School talent show. We got the bus, it was snowing, we barely made it. 30 seconds into the show, I'm a junior in high school, 30 seconds into the show, the girls rushed the stage, tore our clothes off, and we had to run to the dressing room, literally. So I knew from then on, you gotta excuse me, I'm,
Yeah.
a little hoarse right now.
Oh my God. So really it was it was all of the attention that you got from being on the stage. It's funny. I mean, when you're talking about talent shows, that's really how talent was created and known about back in the days. I think about the Jackson 5 and them touring all of those different, high schools and different schools to do talent shows. That was like a big deal back then. And a lot of folks were coming out to scout talent as well at these
Correct.
talent shows. Was that a part of what you guys experienced?
Yeah, we experienced that. I mean, a lot of people coming at us. I mean, when I saw the Jackson 5, and it's interesting you said the Jackson 5, I was 10 years old. And that's another inspiring point to know that that's what I wanted to do. Yes, we would do talent shows. We would, people would offer us contracts, managers, all kinds of stuff. We didn't know. We fielded so much stuff.
Wow. I mean, I think about how people get on today, and it's changed so much over the years, right? Because there really was an influx, I think, of so much talent coming from our communities. A lot of Black folks have been just talented, right? We grew up singing in choirs and creating our own bands. You know what I mean? I was just talking about it. Hey, we had a whole family dance team. We performed at the Black Festival in 1988.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that was just a part of our lived experience, right? When we talk about entertaining at our family dinners, barbecues, gatherings, family reunions.
Absolutely.
That's just a part of what we did. So at what point for you, maybe in your young adulthood or, after high school, where you really took this to another level in terms of entertainment?
Well, I'm going to answer that question, but I always got to tie things in if you don't mind. Church was a part of it. I sung in the choir, played drums for the church choir at Antioch Baptist Church. My late great uncle, Reverend S.A. Smith. But, I knew I wanted to do, once that talent show and the girls were screaming and all that kind of stuff, and I was a shy guy, I couldn't catch, I was Steve Urkel in 9th and 10th grade. By 12th grade, I was so popular in Tacoma, Seattle, and Everett that it was kind of scary.
Wow. And at that point, you said, you know what, I'm going to do something with this. I'm going to take it to another level. I know that you've done a lot of different things in entertainment. What are some of the things that really stick out to you in terms of, elevating your talent and your career and taking it to another level?
Of course, E40 was very impactful. Kid Sensation probably was the first major thing that Kevin Gardner and I did. Then E40, of course, because, doing E40 opened the door for Pearl Jam to call me and want to do a song on the movie Replacement Killers. And they didn't know I lived in Seattle. So working with my mentor, Jay King from Club Nouveau, who started people like Mac Trae and the Loonies, and the list goes on, but he's still in Club Nouveau. And then we did radio together, for 5 years, with Karen White and Darius McQuarrie from the Steve Urkel show.
Yeah. So what did you do with E40? With him being so integral in terms of your entertainment career, and maybe, like you said, folks being able to understand who you were and what kind of talent you were bringing to the table through the work you did with E40.
With 40, he was very open, and that whole Sick-Witted crew from Be Legit to Sugar T, I talked to her this morning, to D-Shot. They were open to me. They were new at it. They came from the streets. And they were doing independent things. They were making a lot of noise in the Bay. And they were open to my ideas, whether it was business or producing, which I produced, I got 1 platinum album, 3 gold albums, and, with E40. Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather.
No, that's
I'll be
all
okay. So, I was able to sing. He let me sing on the records. He let me talk on the records and produce the records.
Wow.
And then it was so surreal a lot of times, Here's a guy that's the king of slang. He's 50-some years old. He's still relevant.
Yeah.
And he's still my friend. And I just decided to want to put positive messages out to the world, and I'm responsible for what what the narrative is from me, and I'm spiritual, so I feel what I put out to the world comes back, but I don't judge my friend. Earl Stevens is my friend, for real, and it's beyond being a fan. And so
So really, the work you did with him allowed folks to understand what you could bring to their projects. And so many times in the music industry, folks are trying to make it from one project to another. I mean, even if they have a contract, right, and they got 5-record deal, 5-album record deal, they're still looking to make sure that they have impact with each and every record. And so you took a lot of what you learned here in the Seattle scene and really took it down there to California.
Absolutely.
What were some of your main experiences outside of E40 down in Cali that really allowed your career to propel and give you even more experience and deepen your experience in the entertainment industry?
I mean, with that I was able to, being in the Bay and E40, really being the ambassador to the Bay, I got to reconnect with old people that I knew. So, because when MC Hammer come to town, I'm backstage. I'm with him at every concert, Stanley Burrell. Or Tony's first tour was a Cotton Club, and my group Exposure was the opening act. And they were here for a whole week, so I got a chance to know Dwayne, Raphael Sadiq, and all those guys. Raphael Wiggins at the time, which is Dwayne's brother, and Timothy. And so those guys are still my dear friends. And I was able to write with them after the E40 deal. Then we go hanging out, we go to a club, we go to their studios or that kind of thing. And so the Bay Area was very instrumental in my music career. And from that, I was able to do L.A. Because I was going to L.A. when I was a kid. My mother's sister, whose son was Ricky Odom, was a pro football player. He went to USC, he played cornerback. So I've been exposed to so much stuff at a young age. And I thought, I was really bashful when I was around these guys. My great uncle incorporated Grambling, Louisiana into a city. His best friend was Coach Eddie Robinson, so I would go to his house. Then when I stayed in Virginia on my father's side, my auntie went out with Moses Malone. And so I would go to Mary Malone, his mother's house, and see him. So I got a chance to be exposed to icons and professionals at such an early age. And I never thought I would break through because I was so shy and bashful. Now I'm out going, hey, this Redwine Jack, you see 40 finds and really hit it. From the east to the west, from the north to the south, son, I'm right chill. Yo, scheduled membership to the Dream Club. So when I did that voice on E40's record, I was emulating one of my uncles in the South.
Oh, wow. Wow, Redwine. I mean, and the thing of it is that you really have showcased so much of your talent. I mean, clearly, all of the albums that you just named, having a platinum album, 3 gold albums, being involved in so many different things. And you think about a shy kid from the CD, you know what I mean? That's not too bad, Redwine. That's not too bad at all. Well, you really have been continuing to be impactful right here in the Central District. And I know I really want to get into some of that after the break. But I want you to be able to talk about, before we go to break, to be able to talk about, the biggest thing that has inspired you to continue on. Because you're talking about E40 being in his 50s, and we ain't going to talk about your age, but we're going to say that you continue to stay relevant in this regard in entertainment industry. How has that been for you to continue to be involved and engaged?
And I look at those things, how to be relevant when you're a hip hop grandfather. How to, I look at E40 being relevant. I look at a Charlie Wilson. I look at, we're in the viral age. So I had to tell myself that age is nothing. And I remember I was stressed out because I wanted to keep my career going in a big way. And I had several meetings with Quincy Jones, and he told me, it's a new game. Learn the viral game. It's changed our game. It's a paradigm shift now in where the game is going. So that allowed me to hone in other dreams and aspirations that I had to continue family legacy, which is so important. You got an uncle that's got a park named after him, or a father that's a fallen Black Panther soldier. You have a responsibility to give back. And I was able to teach at SVI for 3 years. And I started a program called Music Business Technology with Y. King Garrett over to Africatown, Kevin Gardner, Coach Eastmore, Renee Hollingsworth Bush, who's Nate Robinson's mother. And so we were able to have people like Nate come up there and inspire the kids, or we had Andre Taylor at the time, who just came off American Pimp fame, who was a friend of mine because we used to go to church together, and we had a Bible study together. So through my journey, people were put into my life, or going in the stands and watching Daryl Hall and Oates, one of my favorite Caucasian groups, and end up producing them in the movie Dangerous Ground, put them in the only rap record would Be Legit in the movie Dangerous Grounds with Ice Cube. So, I mean, it's just, it's like energy. It's like the law of attraction. You put yourself out there and you become a magnet to things, and things show up. Or I'm driving down as a youngster and I see Roger Troutman walking down the street, and he says, "Can you give me a ride to the sound check?" I give him a ride, and then we go back to the studio, and I co-write Computer Love with him. So,
Wow.
so it's like, that's just how it is. I mean, you put yourself out. And what I taught my students at SVI was faith, focus, and follow through. The 3 F's that'll make you make it at anything. It's a God science. Even if you're a non-believer, that science will push you through.
Wow, Redwine, spitting that game even now, my friend. Well, I'm so thankful to have you on here. And when we come back from the break, we're going to dive a little bit more into Mr. Redwine's experience and how he stays connected to so many community concerns, community initiatives, and, like he said, staying faithful, I think, right here to his Central District community. Stay tuned, you guys. You're watching Chats with Trae. Hey, everybody. We all know that COVID-19 has had a major impact on everything this year, even energy bills. Puget Sound Energy understands the ongoing struggle that's facing its customers. And this is why they're offering a COVID bill assistance program of up to $2,500 per qualified customer. If you or anyone you know are currently behind on energy bills, please contact PSC today to discuss all of the assistance options available. Visit psc.com/COVID to learn more.
Hey, it's Jake from Converge Media and Get the F Outside. I hope that all of you are taking advantage of the ability to be outdoors and enjoy nature as our summer months heat up. One other thing that you can take advantage of here in the King County area are free COVID-19 vaccinations. There's all kinds of options for pop-up clinics, and the vaccine is able to be administered to anyone 12 years and older. And did I mention that it's free? You don't need insurance, and they don't care what your citizenship status is. And that kind of sounds like the way things should be anyhow, but we'll save that for another conversation. Information and resources are available at kingcounty.gov/COVID, or you can call the COVID-19 call center at 206-477-3977. Washington, we are almost out of this, but we got to stay locked in for the home stretch. Let's get vaxxed out so we can max out our time with friends, family, and in the great outdoors.
Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of Chats with Trae. I'm having a great time chopping it up and chatting it up with Mr. Robert Redwine. We're deeming the cultural curator the GOAT, as my producer just said, learning all the things that Mr. Redwine has been doing. And I'm really excited because in this section, we're really going to be able to dive in deep to how he stayed committed and connected to so many community efforts. Mr. Redwine, thanks again for joining me.
Thank you, Trae.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you were just talking so much about, your beginnings in entertainment, what that's looked like for you to start as a young person, being an entertainer, and then taking all of your experience behind the scenes, helping other folks really bring their voice to the record, bring their voice to albums.
Absolutely.
And to the audience of a national and global audience. But you never lost track of your connections and your commitment to people right here in the community. Let's talk a little bit about how you brought all that experience right back here. You talked about being a teacher at SVI, but you have continued even after SVI has shut its doors. What are some of the things you're doing right now in community?
Some of the things I'm doing right now is I feel like I'm the bridge from the streets to the suites to downtown to community activists. I mean, Amari Tyre Garrett, a lot of people don't like him, but I went from Beverly Hills drop top Rolls Royces, popping my collar so hard that it ripped, all the way to being homeless. So guys like Amari would help me out, or Andre Taylor, the people that are controversial in the city based upon the way they maneuver or their angle on getting their voice out, or maybe some of their past things that people don't agree with. Just because, we got to celebrate the differences. Just because we don't have the same approach, we got to find a way to come together. That's why I consider myself like the Cocoa Bridge, and so trying to bridge the gap. I mean, I'll talk to Larry Gossett or Eddie Rye or the mayor even. Omari Salisbury can identify with that.
Yeah.
So, those kind of things, and running for state legislator and being able to, after the race, take a picture with Cotton Love, who, as a performer, I did the first Virgo party. So,
Wow. I mean, so I think that what people really can understand from your experience is that the connections really are the key. I talk so much about, being relational, right? And not being transactional. And you really uphold your relationships in community. Again, you knew that there was going to be an embrace of love here for you coming right back to Seattle. And so as you did all these things kind of globally, what was some of the first things that you really touched back on, maybe after SBI, that connected you back to the Seattle roots here?
The main thing is my grandmother and my mother. When my mom was, independent, she had to work, and my grandmother would have to watch me, and so they were like both. My grandmother's like my mom too. So I was a crippled kid. I was very sickly. I missed 2 months school year almost every year because I had arthritis. My feet were like this. I had bars between my feet. They said I would never play sports. I would never do this. I'd never do that. And all I did was prove them wrong on everything I did. And also, I masked depression. I'm at 5 years old. I watched my best friend fall to his death on a Halloween trying to reach for candy, falling through a skylight. Or my second best friend at 12 getting run over by a garbage truck. That's why when trucks back up in Seattle, you hear it deep, deep, deep. And then, or my father getting killed in Walla Walla State Pen in 9th grade. So I had to continue to get therapy. That's why mental health is going to be an important thing that I advocate for, because you don't know how that affects you. Just like Patrick Allen, who I played football with, who played 7 seasons for the Houston Oilers, came to my house last year, and he just passed 2 weeks ago. He was like, "You're the only person I can talk to who's been in the spotlight and fell, and how it feels." It's challenging when you live in a small community and everybody asks you what happened. But my story was not like his, but the pain we shared, and the coming from the same neighborhood and coming from the same high school and succeeding, I could feel. I had empathy. I could have empathy for someone, even if I didn't have that issue. So there's been people that's been molested. I never been molested, but I have empathy for people that have been.
Well, I think you're so right, too, that, when we think about the multitude of issues that really need a champion's voice, right, is what you're talking about here. It is important when we talk about having real people that have gone through things, that share those experiences, so folks can understand the pathways out of them. So much of that is important. And,
Thank you.
I mean, you mentioned Omari Tahir Garrett. I know that you've been really crucial and really there for this newest kind of extension of the occupation at the Coleman School building. I want to be able to give you a second to speak to that, because I know that many out there in the audience have really just been learning about so much of the facets of interest and elements that are involved there. There's a lot of nuance when we talk about why Omari Tahir Garrett is still out there to this day. You want to speak to that?
I can speak to that, and there's a lot of people that won't agree, but facts is facts. I mean, even if it's dangerous to speak to facts, I mean, you got to stand on the truth. You got to stand on what God wants you to do, because God has your back at the end of the day. And the mayor and the current administration, Biden administration, have acknowledged there's systematic oppression, gentrification. This is all legal system. It's all been systematic and swept under the rug, and we've got to expose these things, like police accountability, all these kind of things. There's good and bad in all races, in all systems, but we have to get the corrupt systems out, because it has an effect on the people. See how it trickles down? You know, after SVI, it was a blessing that I was able to take care of my grandmother because she took care of me. I found her sitting up, passed away after 10 years. 2 years later, I held my mom's hand on her final breath. So masking through depression, but still knowing that God has a purpose for me and to continue the legacy that was passed on. Because I got 3 grandkids and I got a daughter. So I have to have something to live for and give back to and be impactful. You know what I'm saying? And continue a positive narrative and how the future optic is going to look.
Yeah. I mean, you know, this is important. And I think that there's all these things that drive us to, you know, really showcase and be who we are. And when we talk about being the best of what that looks like, right? When you're talking about what God has for you out here and how there's a purpose for your life, I think so many people, you know, utilize their life and their lived experience really searching for that purpose, really trying to hunker in on what that is. And, you know, as you talk about some of these relationships that you hold in community, it's been important for you to continue on and maybe helping others see themselves as part of some solutions that are really being created in community. I mean, you talked about running for legislature. Clearly, you have a mind of yourself to stay engaged and informed in all of these processes. I think it's important because so many of our community members oftentimes are excluded from a lot of that. So how has that been for you in terms of bringing your experience to bear so that others can be educated through it?
You know, I thank God for allowing me to have the experiences and the journey that I have had. It's not easy. I mean, it's not easy when you can see it clearly. If I go to someone that's on a high level, say the Sweets, or go to someone from a great grassroots level and say, let's all come to the table. Some people don't even want to come to the table. So I'll tell the people at the top that why do you think these young people are killing each other? Why do you think the South End and the CD can't get along? Because they see you older people that are older than me that can't even sit at the table to have dialogue. I mean, that's simple. So sometimes I'm successful at bringing the people together, and there's other times it's a greater hurdle. I would like to call it a hurdle because I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm a firm believer that all the challenges in our lives are there to make us better, right? They're there to honestly give us an opportunity to have a divine response, right? And in that regard, it's like being peaceful in the midst of all of these challenges, because I believe that that's really what's at our core nature. And so many more of our community members, you know, can see the evidence of that and what that looks like in terms of exemplifying it. And so it's important that we share these kind of things and really be transparent as you've been today, Mr. Redwine, because, you know, you're talking about being at the top and then coming down harsh and bringing all of that to bear when you're really explaining how you are in community.
That's why I can fight for the underdog.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced the highs and lows, literally from the streets to the suites. I mean, when you're hanging out with Jamie Foxx and rolling in a Corniche Rolls Royce, and you're staying in Eddie Murphy's old mansion, and then all of a sudden you've had 20 cars and you don't have no car, and you're sleeping on somebody's couch and you're treated like a dog. And then I'm not telling people in the community because my pride is in the way. But pride do come before the fall. That's what the Bible says. Yeah. So, you know, it's a part of the journey. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so all those things I were taught by my great family is things that I take with me. Some days it's tougher than others. You know, I mean, you know, I never wanted to be in no one's box. I would always like to be out the box. And I'm effective in me being who I am.
Yeah. I mean, that's really true. I think, you know, again, people understand and really respect and appreciate authenticity. And that's what you're talking about there, is really being your authentic self. I'm glad that you were able to, you know, get from beneath the curtain of, you know, oh, you know, I don't want people to know what's going on. No, because when they learn and when you're open and honest, people really learn more than, you know, it being some type of facade. And that doesn't help anybody or benefit anyone. So, Mr. Redwine, I'm just thankful that you were able to spend some time with me today, chatting it up about all the ways that you've been bringing yourself into community, getting people all over the world to understand some amazing musical talent right here coming from the Central District. And thank you again for your commitment to staying plugged in to community and having those tough discussions with folks, trying to bring people together, because I think it's so important. And what you said there really resonates with me. It's a hurdle. You're not going to stop. I appreciate that so much.
I ain't going to stop till the casket drop.
There we go.
Whether it's doing films, entertainment, activism, politics, I'm going to be a bridge in that process. I got more record deals for black artists in Seattle's history.
Wow.
When Larry Petrie, White King Garrett, and myself led 30,000 people, the largest assembly of people in the state's history, is impactful to me. Or getting a signature signing through Jesse Weinberry of the most signatures for initiative for equal rights.
Yeah.
Simple as equal rights. We gotta keep on getting over those hurdles.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much again. I mean, you guys heard it here. You know, I always love to summarize some of the ways that I've been so inspired during these episodes of Chats with Trae. And Mr. Redwine has totally inspired me again to stay engaged in the process no matter what. Yes, this road is tough for those of us who say, you know, we're going to put activism on our back. We're going to put black liberation on our back and equity work on our back. But the truth of the matter is that no matter how difficult it may get in the trenches, we also know that we're here to be inspiring, informational, aspirational to all of you out there. And so you guys know, for me, the mantra stays the same. See yourself as a part of the solution. Mr. Redwine has done just that by bringing his experience back here to the Central District and staying committed and connected to these community initiatives. You guys can find ways that you can bring your brilliance to bear, all that you have gone through in your life, good, bad, up and down, ugly and beautiful, all in between, has a place right here in our history. And I encourage you to find a way to see yourself as part of the solution. Well, thanks again for joining me today on this episode of Chats with Trae. As you guys know, we have episodes coming at you every Friday at 2 p.m. Looking forward to being with you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Chats with Trae. Chats with Trae.